Pavilion. Early 13th century pavilion. A large, stately tent raised on posts and used as a movable habitation. Welcome, traveller, to mine. Nothing is forever. Our lives and our creations are as impermanent as the nomad's tent, as open to the elements as a pier pavilion twixt sky and sea, vanished into the sands. Except in memory and imagination, those other worlds at the end of the pier hove into view if we step off the terra firma of reality. I did this in time of lockdown, and that's what you'll hear in a pavilion on the pier. That's the Frank Jacksfield Orchestra, riding high in the 1954 charts with Ebb Tide. I was 6, and on the first Morecambe holiday that holds any memories. A few mud pools of recollection left by the recession of years. Thornton Road's just an 8-minute stroll from my home. Mrs. Brown's boarding house. Modernised, but still there in the row opposite the spa. First floor front, the window from which I craned to get a glimpse of the sea. Confusing corridors of dark brown varnish. Reluctant trips to a bathroom on another floor, miles away. Mrs. Brown's voice, dry as coconut matting, that of the perpetually tired. Up early with Dad to buy a paper from the man with a portable stand on the prom, rounding the sea breeze corner occupied by the Grand. Not the likes of us, the Grand, any more than the great hotels of Harrogate, my home. But I loved its graceful aura of stability and permanence. Yeah, gone now. Almost. When next you pass the Sands nursing home, check where it meets the older house next door. There's a vertical section of masonry, 1 red brick wide. That's the Grand. The pier I knew was the Central, with its 30s marine theatre. Eddie Morell's Starlights, my first taste of theatre. Coming out of an evening show down the illuminated pier, dark waters lapping below. Running child-happy through the rockery with its little bridge. It's all gone. Last night at the Holidays treat. Clock golf outside the Super Swimming Stadium, then, as darkness fell, through the gleaming portal that was, still is, Luciani's, for a banana split on their special posh glass dishes. Wood panelling the opposite of Mrs. Brown's mud varnish, and an etched glass screen, redolent of faraway lands. Speaking of which, a Morecambe I never knew, that most haunts my imagination, the short-lived West End Pier Pavilion. Look out today from the great windows of the Alhambra, and you can hardly believe what once filled the view. A Moorish dome and minarets, the stuff of legend. 1896. Here's my programme from July 1896, and how the papers describe the new Palace of Pleasure.
The Pavilion is a fine, capacious, lofty music hall, 154 feet long, 86 feet wide, and 32 feet high. There are 4 three-story minarets rising 45 feet high. In the centre is a dome 36 feet in diameter, which weighs over 80 tons and rises to 90 feet above the sands. Around the pavilion are shops and sandwich bars. Over 2,000 people may be accommodated. The stage at the north end is the largest in the provinces, 30 feet deep and 60 feet wide. The walls have been panelled and covered with anaglypta painted in various shades, and numerous mirrors introduced. The large dome is painted to represent the celestial regions, in which several cupids may be seen disporting themselves, and the ceiling is beautifully decorated with figured medallions and name scrolls, framed in elaborate raised plasterwork. The iron columns have been treated excellently, capitals heavily gilt being added, and the main pillar has been covered with a bold design in gold on a crimson background.
1917. They had just been giving the pavilion a fresh lick of paint for the new season, when,
at a late hour on Saturday evening, the inhabitants of Morecambe were aroused by an outbreak of fire at the West End Pier Pavilion. The conflagration spread with such rapidity that the building was completely destroyed. The outbreak was discovered at 10:35 by a Midland Railway policeman. Snow was falling, and there was too a northerly breeze. In less than half an hour, the dome, 90 feet in height, collapsed with a great crash. Towards midnight, the minarets at each corner, 40 feet in height, fell in, and a short time afterwards the whole building was gutted, nothing being left save twisted iron girders.
I think it is this pavilion's remoteness, in both time and distinctive aura, that so stimulates the imagination. So come down this last pier with me. Listen. In velvet silence, vast pleated swags of indigo tide drew warm night waters over the midsummer sands. Other seas would, in the fullness of time, come icily to assail this pier's foundations, and fires would topple the domed pavilion above, but not this eventide. Earlier, a multitude of promenaders had paused to watch elongated carpets of liquid gold inlay the mud flats with pools of setting sun, before progressing in animated clusters of Edwardian silhouette over the sea and into the peerless pavilion. Later, after the musical cyclists and pedestal skaters, Jolly Jack Nash and his humorous songs, and Madame Paula, Queen of the Alligators. A solo violin played Scheherazade as a sumptuous carpet floated in midair.
Open-mouthed, assembled thousands witnessed the vision of King Shahryar and his Scheherazade float slowly seaward through the pavilion wall and disappear. The most beautiful man in the world had plucked a slip of a girl from row 3, draped her in gossamer, and, laughing as loud as a giant from fairyland, set her upon the carpet. Cradled in orient arms, swept out from and far above the domes and turrets of the lost pavilion, she and all the vision melted away.
Time for this nomad to pack up his tent and move on. Through the misty twilight falling, voices from afar are calling. Here's Albert Catelby, conducting his own 1915 in a monastery garden, played in countless seaside pavilions, As a reviewer put it, touching the hearts of millions.